This episode of the Level Flight podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce that smooth sack summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from pubes to bump. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code THPN. Summertime and trimming is easy. Every man knows how scary it can get when going for a close shave below the belt. That's why it's easier to trust Manscaped for all the sensitive areas. The Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has everything you need to prepare for that summer bod. Manscaped was nice enough to send us something special. Inside the package we got, you'll find the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. We also have dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, 3 setting combs, and oh, did I mention this trimmer is waterproof? Get 20% off and free shipping with the code THPN at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code THPN at manscaped.com. It's smooth sack summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind. Okay, we good to go?
Always good to go.
I'm just chilling at Canada Life Center.
That's the hard-hitting analysis you listen to the Level Flight podcast for.
Here we go.
Jets are a brisket team, low and slow for the first 2 periods, and boom, an explosion of flavor in the last few minutes of the third.
Doing all right. Better if my internet would work.
Elliott.
This is comedy. I'm Brian. I'm joined by Connor.
Hello.
And Elliott.
Hey.
Wow, that was fun.
You're listening to the Level Flight podcast. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 17th edition of LFP Live, the Father's Day edition. Happy Father's Day. I'm sure you just noticed we have a new sponsor. We've welcomed Manscaped into the network here. It's a lot of fun working with them. So thank you for sponsoring this episode, Manscaped. We're going to hear from DraftKings a little later. But we're going to start off here by, welcoming you all in here. Everyone's already rolling in the chat here. The usual suspects, as I'm sure we'll come to realize here. And if you're in chat right now, and you've noticed that Connor's not sitting with us here, it's because he's in the Big Apple. He is in New York and apparently has claimed the role of Connor from New York now. So he's not joining us today. He'll be in the chat, though, apparently. It's nice to, get things rolling here and also have him involved, even if he's not on the show. But Elliott, you are on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited. I mean, we've been a little quiet during the week just because, it's just been easier to recap everything on LFP Live. It's just been so much fun doing this. So we've kind of circled this as our, call it the main episode of the week. But so it should be another good one. I'm excited to chat with everybody here. And I want to, there's a couple topics we're going to talk about that I'm interested to see what people have to say about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We might as well just get right into it. This week came up briefly. I can't remember what it came up on, but Pierre LeBrun reported that the Jets were among the teams who are interested and are kicking tires in the Martin Necas sweepstakes here. So Carolina and him don't seem to be on the same page with things. He's got another year on his contract. There's been a lot of, I would say smoke, but it's kind of manufactured smoke based around sort of Ehlers and Necas, purely because they kind of both seem to be ready to switch destinations here. I think that there's a lot of sort of questions about if Necas is the piece that you go after with Ehlers, because obviously everyone's looking either at high draft picks or defensemen. But in my opinion, Martin Necas is one of the best players that you could probably acquire for Nikolaj Ehlers. Like, he is in a Rod Brindamore system, which is quite beneficial to guys who are, very hard nosed and really going in there, forechecking and firing away. He thrives in a system in which he can be both the star on the line, but also the supplementary player. And obviously he comes in, if for whatever reason the Jets end up acquiring him, he comes in, he's immediately a huge piece in the top six here, and effectively would, I guess, replace Nikolaj Ehlers in that top six. But Elliott, I want to know your thoughts on the fact that LeBrun's putting out here that this could be a fit for them.
I think it's a good, like you talked about, obviously, lots of people are very set on Ehlers getting draft capital back. Or, yes, I would also agree that, I mean, honestly, speaking of draft capital, I think you kind of, with the Ehlers situation, you kind of have to take this as a BPA. Get whatever the best player available is, whether that is a forward or it is a defenseman. Obviously, I think we would all hope that it would be a defenseman to help out the defensive core. But if you're going to grab Martin Necas, yeah, sign me up. As much as I love Nikolaj Ehlers, if it is his time to go, then yeah, let's bring somebody else back that essentially, quote unquote, replaces his spot in the top six. Yes, I know he's mainly been a center, but at the same time, you can move guys around. Guys are flexible to kind of move in and around the lineup. So I think the biggest thing is, yeah, like you either get Necas and he either sits as your second line center, which, I mean, that kind of then negates some of the other news we've heard about Sean Monahan. Or as Jay Miller's talking about in the chat, you could put him up into you could put him on the first line, right? You could go Connor Scheifele Necas, right? And load up that first line, which does give
immediately drastically improve the rush chances of that line too.
100%. So that immediately makes that first line better. And then I think you make the depth better by having Gabe Vilardi in on the second line, and you pair him up with, I mean, it does become a slower second line if you go Vilardi, Perfetti, and whoever there. But just to talk about quickly the whole, I think the reason why the smoke is there is obviously people have linked Ehlers to Carolina, and now Necas is available. So obviously people are going to make the 2 and 2 to go together. But yeah, I agree with you, Doug. Like, if we could get a right shot D, that would be great. But again, if that right shot D isn't out there, I think Martin Necas would be a great pickup for the Jets. I think that's just, obviously, I don't obviously know how that trade would work. I don't know where the value's at for both players, but I think at least if those two players are involved, and even if the Jets have to give up a little bit more to get Necas, which personally I think would probably have to happen. Like, I think it's Ehlers plus something else at least. I would definitely think that if that's what it takes to get Necas, then I think I'd be all right with that. If that's the direction they have to go with.
And kind of to follow up here, and also to respond to Doug here, I think what you said earlier, Elliott, is important. Where you go best player available. From what it seems at this point, where it stands right now, that if the Jets do not trade Ehlers, he's more than likely, I would say there's probably an 80% or upwards chance that he leaves in free agency. So you're losing him for nothing. So
asset management.
Exactly. So at this point, you have to maximize what you have and then hope that you can build around that deal. Because if you just lose Ehlers and you don't have someone coming back, either in the form of draft capital or in the form of a good player, whether that's on the front end or the back end, I think that you need to strongly consider what you're doing, because if you're losing him for nothing, then there's no chance to recoup that value, like at all. Because as we've mentioned before, and as many people know, it's kind of difficult for the Jets to sign top talent on the free agency market. And everyone and their cousin has a no movement clause these days. And if you're getting the ability to possibly use a Nikolaj Ehlers who clearly wants a fresh start somewhere else, unless there's some conversations happening with Scott Arniel that might change his mind. I don't know, because I know Scott Arniel's saying a lot of the correct things here, but I don't know if the relationship between Ehlers and the Jets has
Could already be.
Yeah, exactly. So I think what you have to consider here is if the player is ready to move on, there's nothing that can reconcile that. You got to get the most you could possibly get for him on the market here, because you're certainly not finding that in free agency, signing guys to come to Winnipeg, because as we've seen in the past, it's not exactly a fruitful endeavor. And we're seeing a lot in the chat here where there is a lot of good that Necas brings, and he's versatile. He's great off the rush. He generates a lot of shots. He's had 20 plus goals in the last 2 years. He had 28 2 years ago, 71 points in 82 games. Settled in just over 50 points this year in 77 games. I just think that he would be a really good fit. I mean, obviously, value aside, positional aside, if you're looking at just value, it's a good deal, I think. And also, I know that given the background of Cane's GM or interim GM Eric Tulsky, you have to think that they look at what Ehlers brings to their team and sees a lot of value in that. Even if the rest of the league doesn't, they could probably play that to their advantage, realizing how good Ehlers is, maybe realizing the Jets might be undervaluing him and find a way to leverage something more. But yeah, and like it's tough to, as I said so many times, it's so tough to think of value for Nikolaj Ehlers, because it feels like there's a lot of two sides of the coin here, where some people think he provides a lot of value based on his rush chances, based on his puck carrying, but on the other side, people see that sometimes as a negative because he can be somewhat erratic. He creates chaos, usually in a good way. But when he's cutting through the middle, you don't necessarily know what he's going to do next. So a lot of teams will probably see that as a negative. And like clearly Rick Bowness saw that as a negative as well. And there's a lot of coaches like Rick Bowness who would see, oh, he's not sticking to a set play. I just don't see how everyone would find that, appealing. Right.
Yeah.
So it feels as if Carolina is a really good fit just based on what they would value as a player. And I mean, we're seeing it a lot in, chat here, and we've brought this up a lot in the last few weeks. Has your opinion changed on whether Ehlers is 100% gone or not? Or are you still saying with the fact that it's probably goodbye, see ya? Well, I'm just waiting on when.
I don't know, because all the reports came out. Obviously, our good friend of the show, Murad Atesh, came out and said, like, the Jets are shopping Ehlers, right? And so that's where I kind of was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is the end if they're already shopping him at this point. So my thought process is that maybe that's changed just because Scott Arniel is saying a lot. Obviously, that report is like, there are now reports coming out that the Jets aren't really shopping Ehlers anymore. They're open to talking about Ehlers, but they're not actively looking to trade him. So I think that's quite interesting that within a matter of weeks, they went from very open and looking for a trade partner. But that also could mean that until Martin Necas has now become potentially available, that the Jets may be called around the league and said, hey, we have Nikolaj Ehlers. We would like to give him to one of you. What do you have to offer? And everybody lowballed him. And so maybe that's what his thought process is okay, maybe I need to wait. Obviously, Doug mentioned it in the chat. Why not wait till the trade deadline? Well, if you know anything about the Winnipeg Jets, if they are in a position to win playoff games, they will not be trading Nikolaj Ehlers at the trade deadline. The only way that would happen is if the team is in a position where they are not in a playoff spot. If they're in a playoff race, nobody is getting dealt at the only way is if they would add a piece. They would not, unless it's add to give away, there is no way that they would be getting rid of Ehlers at the deadline if they're in a playoff race or trying to push for a playoff spot. So I think that this deal, as we've talked about, has to happen now or at the draft. And if it doesn't happen, it's probably not happening. And I think that's where the Jets are probably panicking right now, because if they're not getting what they're looking for, then They're probably thinking about other ways that they can maybe package him in something else to get what they're looking for.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're on the side there. We've mentioned the Patrik Laine trade request, and organically it has come up in the chat about the relationship between Nikolaj Ehlers and Patrik Laine. Some people saying that maybe they both end up in Carolina, or the fact that they could end up in Utah. And I think that's a good point to pivot here, where it came out the other day that Patrik Laine, who is still currently in the player assistance program, has informed Columbus that he would like to pursue other opportunities in the league, and that they are welcome to seek a trade. And immediately, and I mean immediately, the second that report came out, there were some people that I saw who were saying, "Oh, would this be something the Jets would do?" And I think that's a very interesting conversation. But before we get to that, I do want to say that Laine to Carolina feels like something that could actually happen. Like him and Sebastian Aho in I think it was the World Juniors and the World Championship, have just unbelievable chemistry together. They played together so much over their international careers that I could see it, and then it just, I don't know, maybe as to put it in Kevin Cheveldayoff terms, maybe it's fantasy hockey, but seeing that type of move for Carolina, including a Laine, including an Ehlers, could work. But in terms of the Jets, I'm not sure I see a fit, given and then obviously there's different circumstances here, different coaching, relationships would probably be different, and he's looking for something big. But I don't know if it's even something that's considered. But Elliott, would you welcome Patrik Laine back to the Winnipeg Jets?
I would welcome him back, but as as everybody knows, the Jets don't have a lot of cap space. That is a big contract already, and the Jets already don't have a lot of space. So they would need somebody else would have to eat some cap, or the Blue Jackets would have to retain, and then you're probably asking for more on the market, because you know how GMs are. If we're retaining cap, then we need to get something else back to retain the cap because it's so valuable. But I would take him back on the team. I mean, I don't know where you fit him, and would he fix the Jets' power play problems? Probably not, because a single player isn't going to fix a system. But
unless you're Gabe Velarde.
Well, but I think, just to quickly say that, I think the way that the structure of the power play was set up, yes, it was god awful, and it looked good when the Jets had him in the lineup. But I think it was because it was built around Velarde playing from below the goal line. So when they didn't have Velarde and they didn't have that ability to play below the goal line and in around in tight spaces, that's when they fell apart, because the whole power play was built around that. But besides that point, I don't know if, one, it fits cap wise, and two, I just don't know if he has a place in the lineup. Like, yeah. This is a guy that has been looking for a home his entire NHL career. It wasn't in Winnipeg. It's now not in Columbus. And I think there's I was having a discussion with somebody else a while back. There's a weird fine line that he's trying to toe, where he wants to be the star player, but he doesn't want to have to deal with the criticism of being the star player, right? Like, he wants to be the guy, but he doesn't want to have to answer to the like, how he was here in Winnipeg when the media was all over him all the time about goal scoring droughts and this and that and whatever, right? So I just don't know if him coming back, if that's best case scenario for him. And I think that he would probably hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I would take him, but I just don't think it works in any capacity, whether that be on a player system level or just generally in a money realm.
Yeah, and I deferred to you first, kind of wondering where you were at, because I mean, the nostalgia and the enjoyment of what we saw from Patrik Laine from 2016 to 2020 that to me is the appealing idea of what bringing him back could do. But I've also seen the fact that, one, contract, but two, the fact that he has clearly been struggling in Columbus, and obviously he is, currently working, to work his way back from some personal stuff, and obviously we wish him the best in that. But when he does come back, I don't think that he's going to be that guy where everyone was saying, oh, he's going to be a consistent, 35 to 50 goal scorer every single year, like he was looking like he was going to before he got traded. And I just don't know if any, to be honest with you, if any team is willing to take that risk at that money, unless you have a lot of cap space, you have a lot of lineup spots, and the fact that you don't have to worry about playing him up in your lineup, because you kind of have to play up in the lineup because he's not a player who plays bottom six, who's got, that's the thing, regardless of what happens, he's still got the shooting talent. He still has it. That shot hasn't changed. But I could see him going to, I know it was brought up earlier, and I'm going to scroll all the way up here. Utah. They have a lot of cap space. They need some star power. They need something to get the fans out of their seats, because there's a lot of question marks for that team coming up from Arizona there. But I don't think he's a fit on a team that's a contender.
Yeah.
But maybe a Chicago, put him with Bedard.
Oh God! Don't
That's
a
the
power
thing.
play with Laine and Bedard. Don't even get me started on that.
Bedard he's got that shot. We know that, but his passing ability is just outstanding. And obviously, Laine needs an elite passer to be, Patrik Laine, as we saw. That was the thing when he was at his best. It was Blake Wheeler just saucing it through a bunch of players and finding him, open on the side there. And I think that could be a position for him to succeed. You just, maybe a young team that needs some scoring, find a way to, put him there. And maybe in a couple of years, he's found his way back to form, in a place that might be on the up. Right. So,
yeah.
We've got a lot of action in chat here. A lot of people joining in now. If you've just joined us, we've been chatting briefly about, the fact that Martin Necas is apparently on the Jets' radar. Patrik Laine's trade request has come in. We were talking about that. If you also missed it, we welcome Manscaped on as a sponsor. We had a nice ad read at the beginning there, so you'll be able to catch it on the way back.
Wild ad read, absolutely wild.
It's fantastic. It is great. They sent us some stuff too, so that's very, very nice of them. So that's been awesome. But we got Dallas in the chat here saying good morning, and hope Connor's back. But no, and it's a oh my goodness, we got Dave, team photographer for the Gold Eyes, in chat. He is watching along here. I'm gonna see him in no less than an hour. It's funny, his office that he works out of here is quite literally right on the other side of that wall over there. So no, it's been a fun morning so far, but it's a lot of it's hard not to. A lot of speculation at this time of year. I just want some actual concrete news to actually just chat about, because let's be honest, it's a lot of projecting, because you have to think about stuff that could happen. But no, it's a nice. The sun's trying to peek out here. Fergie's out there tending to the field there, because obviously it rained a lot here last night.
It was bad.
Thank you. It was off. It woke me up last night.
I couldn't go to sleep. It was flash every not even 5 seconds. It was bad last night. Yeah.
We got it. It's not an LFP live without a coffee chat in the chat here. So this is my second coffee already. I will probably have a third before the Gold Eyes game starts today, because I am very tired. It's definitely a coffee day. It was a nice quick game though last night, so I didn't have to stay too late, which was delightful. We're going to get more into some summer sports stuff a little later. We're also going to be chatting about the insanity that happened in Edmonton last night. An 8-1 win to stay alive in the series. So we're going to get on that. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break and hear from our other sponsor, our longtime sponsor, DraftKings. And then when we come back, we'll talk, Oilers and Panthers, a brief summer sports, and then we're going to get right into questions. If you saw our post, it's going to be a little bit of an abbreviated version, probably going to sit somewhere around 45, 50 minutes today. We got some time constraints here that we ought to abide to. So probably be a little bit of a quicker question period this week here. So once we come back from break, start dropping your questions now, and then we can get to them once we get through the Stanley Cup Final chat, which I'm sure will be fairly full of some takes, because suddenly there's you're telling me there's a chance thing, but we'll get to that. So we're gonna hear from DraftKings, and we will be right back. The chase for the Stanley Cup continues, and the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is just as hot as it is on the ice. With same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more, don't miss out as the Stanley Cup playoffs wind down. And if you're new to DraftKings, you gotta check this out. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/ice for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved. And welcome back into the 17th edition of LFP Live. Thanks again to DraftKings, as always, for hopping on as a sponsor here. Listen, Jay, I'm already needing 2 cups of coffee to function. I'm at a baseline right now. If you want me to provide the energy and do a live ad read, I would die. So that this is for everyone's benefit here for pre-recording, because let's be honest, that took me so many takes to get right, because it's a very long read there. But if you want, maybe one of these days I'll do the Manscaped one live, because that's a lot of fun to read.
Yeah.
But we are back from break, and we are going to dive in here to the Stanley Cup Final. Looked like it could have ended last night. Definitely didn't. Panthers remain in the lead in the series 3-1, but the Oilers absolutely demolished them last night. An 8-1 win to extend the series to at least 5 games and head back to Florida. Connor McDavid last night set the single postseason record for assists with, I think it was 32, which surpasses Wayne Gretzky, which whenever you pass Wayne Gretzky on some sort of career stat, you're doing a good job. Listen, as we all know, it's well documented, I'm not cheering for the Oilers here. What I was cheering for was not a sweep, because a sweep in the Cup Final is absolute garbage, and that is not good for the league. But I think what we have to consider here is the fact that the Oilers now are probably going to feel a level of confidence that they didn't have before, because they managed to get Bobrovsky pulled after he was absolutely stunning for the first 3 games. What do you think happens next, Elliott? Do you think it goes down to Florida and ends, or do you think Edmonton is going to pull from this and find a way?
I don't know. The way that the first 3, just as Jay says it, this mirrors the NBA Finals. Speaking of the NBA Finals, I'm not sure if Paul Maurice said this, but Jason Kidd before Game 4 in Dallas said, he's the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. He was very adamant that he was packing his team's bags to make sure that they were going to Boston, right? Like, I think that's what probably along the lines of what Chris Knobloch said to Edmonton was, You are going to win this game. There's no way that you have that good of a team that gets swept out of the Stanley Cup Final. There's absolutely no way. If you are McDavid and Draisaitl and you get swept out of the finals, that is absolutely horrible. But realistically, I think I would Doug on this one. I think it's done. I think it's done on Tuesday. I think Florida cleans it up at home. There is absolutely no way that the Florida Panthers get rolled like that. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think Connor says it right. If Edmonton wins Game 5, then the series is on. Until then, they just delayed the parade. Which, I think that's where it is.
So they don't have to fly back for the parade. They can party and then just get immediately on the buses
in the morning.
Fall on the buses. I mean, let's be honest. It's probably going to end up, on the water as well, because obviously it seems anytime that there is a Florida-based team celebrating, they end up. Someone's going to throw the Stanley Cup from yacht to yacht.
If somebody does, somebody's getting massively fined. But yeah, I'm with you. I think everybody else in the chat is in agreement. It was fun to watch the Oilers go off last night. Obviously, Oilers fans are going to be super happy. That's going to be a game that they remember, because, as soon as they lose in Game 5, that'll be the first thing in like 5 months going, remember when this happened? Right? Like, I mean, as Jets fans, we do it, but with the Preds, right? In the 2017 playoffs, right? We always think about Game 7 against the Preds, and we took care of business, right? So, yeah, I mean, it was fun to watch them all get excited, and they were partying, they were having fun. But yeah, there is no way. I don't even want to put anything on it, but like, if the Oilers extend the series back to Edmonton for Game 6, I will be very much surprised.
Yeah. And I mean, what Jay said there was, if Edmonton somehow pulls this off and they come back and they win the cup after being down 3-0, I do think it is the greatest comeback of all time in NHL history, because it's never happened in the cup final. There has never been a reverse sweep.
Didn't they post? Sportsnet posted something last night. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm pretty sure they posted like 1947 Leafs did it or something like that. And so technically it doesn't count.
It took less games to get there, though. That's the thing, where it's like, obviously it's before. It's I think from expansion era on, where there's an actual grind that you add that full level of how many games they have to play.
Yeah,
I don't think anything would match it, and it would never happen. It has never happened, and probably it'd be very rare to see it ever again. But no, I think that's a good way to wrap it. We're starting to get them here, and while we get some questions trickling in, I'm going to bring this up here because I want to do a quick chat about some summer sports. Tee off, Elliott.
I was going to say, do you want me to? So this has been an interesting summer so far for the Sea Bears. Just quickly, they've dropped their last 2 games. They were would that be a 3-game losing streak? I guess it is a 3-game losing streak. They won the first game of their 4-game road trip in Brampton, then dropped the following day in Niagara, then followed that up with 2 more losses, and most recently in Vancouver, where they got run out of the gym in Justin Wright Foreman's debut. I saw some good things on offense, but just to keep it nice and brief, that Sea Bears defense is absolutely god awful. And I've been chatting with Joey Slattery. We can't figure out if it has to do with their defense of effort or if it's their scheme. We just can't figure out what the issue is, because they're scoring one of the highest scoring totals and averages in the entire league. They're second, and they put up a ton of points. They just can't get a stop. Like, it's absolutely nuts. So, funny enough, if you have a chance today on TSN Plus or CBL Plus, or if you're headed to the sold out game today, they're playing today at 2:00 against the Edmonton Stingers, who are one of the other top teams in the Western Conference. This homestand, this 5-game homestand, will literally most likely determine their season, whether they're pushing for the top or if they're even going to make the playoffs here. So quickly, playoff format, a little bit different. realistically, C-Mac, the Sea Bears do have one of the best rosters in the league. They have last year's MVP in Teddy Allen. They have last year's runner-up MVP, Justin Wright
and
Foreman.
scoring champion.
Yes, as scoring champion. They have I guess I could call him the best Canadian player to ever play in the CEBL, Alex Campbell, or at least length. But yeah, like their roster's loaded with NBA talent. Byron Mullins has shown that he can be one of the better players in this league. They have tons of depth. Like you now have Jared Ogabemi Jackson, who was averaging like 15 points a game now coming off the bench. This team is nuts. I actually don't know if the trophy has a name. I was actually looking that up last time when somebody asked me. I can't remember who it was in the chat. It might have been
just
Matt.
like the CBL championship.
Yeah, it's just the CBL championship. And the way the playoff format works. One of the biggest biggest complaints I have about the league is there's a host. So the Montreal Alliance are hosting this year. So they are automatically into the playoffs, and they get a bye to championship weekend, which is the semifinals. So they basically get a bye to the quote-unquote conference finals. Well, I guess it is the conference finals. So basically, the top 4 teams in each conference, I'm not even going to get into the East because if Montreal's in last, the 4th place team doesn't make the playoffs. It's the top 3 then. But in the Western Conference, the top 4 teams, the top team in the conference gets a bye to the championship weekend as well. And then everybody else is playing for a chance to get into championship weekend. So basically 3 and 4 play a play-in game. So last year, the Sea Bears were the play-in team because Vancouver was hosting because they finished in second. So it was second and third played each other. And then they go and play whoever. So in the Eastern Conference, it would be they get to play the 2 teams that are second and third, play the first place team. And then 3 and 4 are playing to play number 2. To then 2 and 2 will play the winner of 3 and 4 in the West. I wish I had a graphic for this. This is super confusing. And then 2 and 3 play the winner of once. Yeah.
And we'll put it on. We'll put it on some social, and then we'll have like a graphic there.
Yeah.
And then, but then it'll be you writing it on a whiteboard and like
Yeah.
pinning things together.
Yeah, it gets super confusing. The playoff format is crazy, but the best case scenario right now for the Sea Bears is Calgary is like 2 and 5, I believe, and the Sea Bears are 3 and 4. So they still have a couple of games in hand. So they're in the playoff race. Just quickly because I see it here. Yeah, a lot of work to do. I don't know, Matt, if I'm concerned when Mullins gets subbed out. I think I'm more concerned about he's a good rim protector, but he's not great in pick and roll defense. So they get picked apart a lot in the half court. But their biggest issue right now is transition defense. Like I honestly would rather have 5 cones out there when the other team grabs a rebound is coming the other way, because it's crazy. I don't know if the game swings in terms of momentum when he comes out. I think teams are more afraid to come into the paint. But it doesn't matter when he's on the weak side or he's involved in a pick and roll, and then teams just beat him because he's hedging. And yes, he's a more modern big man and he can move. But I just don't think that he's mobile enough with some of these faster guards. So yeah, if you have any other questions, we talked about this last week. I'm not going to be at the Sea Bears game today, but I am going to be tweeting about it. So get into my mentions. Yeah, DM me. I'm probably going to be making a tweet soon enough about the game. So DM me, message me, any other questions. So, but yeah, let's talk other stuff. Connor had an interesting question that I think we should quickly talk about.
Yeah, but, I'm gonna get to that in just a moment here. I'm just gonna do a super quick wrap on some Gold Eyes stuff. Starting first with the fact that once again, it's our weekly Joey Matulovic is the best pitcher in the American Association.
I was gonna say
8 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts last night. He's lowered his season ERA down to 1.69. He is unreal. They have won 4 consecutive series. They're going for the sweep today against the Explorers. It'll be a lovely afternoon here. You know, it's Sunday Family Fun Day, Father's Day game. It's also going to be the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame game. So they're wearing some, I think it's the the Kennesaw Cougars jerseys.
They always do so great with those.
Oh, it's awesome. But no, that'll be going on today. So if you're looking for something to do, maybe a way to spend Father's Day, come on out of the ballpark. It'll be fun here. So, but no, the goal eyes are rolling right now. They're now a few games over 500. They are firmly, I think they're only 3 games back of first in the West. So it's great there. And then to jump over to the other side of things here, panic level for the blue and gold. I'm going to start here just because I don't have too many thoughts on it. I haven't had a lot of bandwidth to think about it recently. I think the panic level, with 10 being the most, I'd say like a 5 right now because half of their team is hurt.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm not overly concerned. They need healthy players to be the best. That's the thing. Like, I think we're finding out that with the age and with the level of sort of reliance on certain guys, if there's any level of injury problem, immediately there's a concern there. So I think that my concern right now is a 5, but if these guys start coming back and they're still struggling to move the ball, I think now my focus shifts to hey, Buck Pierce, let's start thinking of some changes to the offensive systems, because I know last week there's a lot of questions about the fact that they passed the ball 3 times on the 7-yard line, to possibly tie and go ahead.
Started on that run pass splits without Brady Oliveira in the game. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I wanted to pull my hair out. That was Johnny Augustine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but we've seen every time Johnny Augustine has actually gotten a chance to run the football, he actually is a good runner. But it's like the Bombers don't even want to like entertain it unless it's a week 20 game and the season's already like not on the line anymore, and they're just letting him run the ball for tons of times. Like I just don't get it. I don't get it. And that offense looked a little rough at times. I actually don't want. I haven't looked. I do want to know how many targets and catches that Dalton Schoen has through the first 2 games, because I've watched both games and it really felt like he got one in the flats. I forget when, and I was like, oh yeah, Dalton Schoen's still on this football team. And Wolodarski dropped an absolute like free first down. And I was like, okay, what is going, like they are all out of sorts right now. And I just think that they don't have their mojo. I just think that their momentum's just gone.
Yeah, no, I mean it's tough, but I mean, as we said though, like there's a lot of issues with the injury problem. So I mean, it's something to watch going forward. So yeah, we're gonna be wrapping it up here soon. So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna go back here and start doing a bit of closer to a rapid fire, I think, today, just to see what we got. Question wise, starting here with Doug. Do the Jets find a way to move Schmidt's contract, or they have to buy him out? I feel like buyout is more likely because I just don't think Schmidt has the value especially at that deal. So it feels like buyout's going to have to be the way to do it, because I don't know if anyone's going to bite on that unless you really, really sweeten the pot.
Yeah, it has to be a buyout. There's no way that unless it's Schmidt for a 4th or a 3rd for cap space. Like that's really all it would have to be. So that's the only way that you're getting him off the team.
I would agree. Unlikely. I'm going to be up in the press box, grinding away at something, I'm sure. But
it's always something.
It's always something. But no, I unfortunately won't be able to probably make it down. But I hope everyone enjoys themselves. If the series locations went 2-3-2, do you think the Oilers or Panthers would win Game 5 in Edmonton? I still think Panthers. I think that for the most part, at this point, the teams are good enough that home ice advantage doesn't mean anything. It's essentially the only thing that it matters is the fact that it's just more comfort for the home team that they're at home. But I don't think that I feel like earlier on maybe, but these two teams have proven that they can win anywhere up until this point. So yeah, I think that it's not anything too noticeable in terms of the home ice. I still think Florida takes Game 5.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and realistically, the Jets have the best home ice advantage in the entire league, and that's the only one that matters. So
yeah, exactly. Keep Nick or trade Nick. I mean, I think it'd be smart to keep him. I don't know if it happens. So if you know that he's not going to sign, trade him. I think we kind of went over that earlier. Boy, boy, do I wish.
Wouldn't that be?
Yeah.
That would even be worse than Bo Callahan from Draft Day.
Oh, Draft Day. No, we talked about it a lot last week, or was it last week or the week before, about draft targets and best player available. I brought up some names I think last week. So if you're interested in that, go check that out.
And we'll probably do more closer to the draft too. We'll probably go even in depth.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like, we'll see if maybe we can get Scott Wheeler back on. He's been on a couple times.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. Do you think the Jets could be waiting for Todd Nelson to finish the Calder Cup Finals to hire him? I still think he's a fit as an assistant coach here. I haven't heard anything to suggest that the Jets are waiting for him. But I mean, the fact that we haven't heard anything yet, it's not unlikely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's possible for sure.
That's where I'm at. We'll see.
Given his upcoming contract, which will probably be $10 million plus starting at age 30, is Connor the player to trade given the big return you would get? And would probably I mean, I've been on the train of Kyle Connor is probably going to carry more value in a trade than Nikolaj Ehlers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also of the mindset that Kyle Connor on a long-term double-digit deal hurts the team more than anything that you're going to give Nikolaj Ehlers. Mm-hmm. So I think if the Jets really, really wanted to leverage some value that they have on their team, I think Kyle Connor is the way to do it. I would never see that happening. It feels like they rely so much on him that it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else we got here? Is Streveler so far just filling his old role and just running the ball in short yardage situation? It just feels like he's not doing any of the
he has come out a couple times for the whole new QB stuff where he's in the backfield with Kalaris, but it's basically it's short yardage, and I don't think he's thrown for a completion yet this year at all. Yeah. I don't think. I mean, every time they go out for short yardage, I'm waiting for guys them to audible and guys to kind of fan out and for them to run something else. But yeah, he's just running the ball every time. So yeah.
All right. Do the Gold Knights have a bigger rivalry with certain teams over others? Fargo. Oh boy, do we dislike the Redhawks. I mean, it's such a historic rivalry though. Like it has transferred over leagues. First in the Northern League and then immediately into the American Association. There's been so many incredible battles over the years. Mm-hmm. But then even in the last few years, you're also seeing it's the teams that have been around the longest, right? So you're constantly going to be battling with Sioux Falls, Sioux City, these teams that you see a lot more of. Anyone in the West, really. But I think there's no question at all that it's the Red River rivalry with the fact that Fargo is right down the road. So that's going to be fun. They're coming into town for 3 at the end of this homestand. So that would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week. So that's going to be a must-see series because they're the top in the West Division. Gold Knights are flying through the West right now. They are they've won now, I think, 7 of their last 9. So and as I said, they're going for the sweep. So it's a huge chance for them to really prove that, all right, you're the best in the West. That's where we want to be. And then coming through, especially with our pitching, I forgot to mention this today. It is the Gold Eyes debut for Marshall Kozowski. We signed him in the offseason. He's been on the injured list all season. So he's making his season debut. There's a lot of high expectations for him. So it'll be very great to see him step into this already incredible starting rotation. Like the fact that you could have the 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 of these guys who are going to be in the top of the ERA race. It's insane.
God.
So, yeah. Let's see. We are... Looks like we're getting to the end here. I don't believe we know how long our
No, we don't. Someone asked me that the other day, and I said I don't know. Actually, I wish we did know. It'd be nice to know.
Yeah. What is this? Like a Champions League situation? Yeah, the New York Yankees coming to Winnipeg, to Blue Cross Park to play the Winnipeg Goldeyes.
So we get to see Giancarlo Stanton strike out and go 0 for 5. Here
Landon
in Winnipeg.
Barassa is gonna absolutely mow through Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Joey Matulovic is gonna the game 2. He's gonna have like 13 strikeouts. And oh god,
Yeah.
let's see. Most known player in the Goldeyes League that played MLB. This year it's not as apparent.
It feels
but,
like a lot of independent guys. Like it feels
yeah,
like a lot of good, like not as much roster turnover like across the league.
Yeah, and like last year there was, guys like Matt Adams, who is a well-known MLBer, was playing for Kansas City. Pete Kozma, who was with the Cardinals, he was with Kane County last year. So, but there's not as many known former MLBers in the league this year. There's a lot of former MLBers though in the league. Like even the Goldeyes, they've got Zach Reininger, who played for the Tigers for a couple seasons there, and obviously our manager played for the Cubs. So, we've got that little MLB flavor there, but no, it's there's definitely a lot of, MLB flavor throughout, but it's not as readily apparent this year as it was.
Yeah.
And I believe that wraps it all up.
Yeah.
As Connor's now taking over the chat, and he's doing his own question period, and I'm so jealous. He's getting to hang out in New York.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So obviously we're hoping that Connor will be back next week on the pod. I'm sure he will. I'm not sure what his plans are, but I'm going to speak
permanently moving to New York.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up here for today, and get on with the several things that we've got on our plates. Just before I go, I want to say once again, happy Father's Day.
Yeah, happy Father's
I'm not sure.
Day.
I know my dad's at the lake. I'm not sure if he's awake yet. He's out there, but if you're watching, Dad, happy Father's Day. I'll give you a call later. But Elliott, before we go, anything you'd like to say?
No, not really. Hopefully everybody enjoys this Sunday, and go Seabirds, go Goldeyes today.
Absolutely. And as I said, 1 p.m. start time here. If you're looking for something to do this afternoon, when does the Seabirds game start, Elliott?
2:00. So Goldeyes is at 1, and then Seabirds is at 2. So
obviously you'll probably have to pick and choose there, but your prerogative, whatever your preference is. But we're drying out the field out here, so we'll be all ready to roll for a while there. So as always, thanks again to our sponsors, Manscaped and DraftKings. Thank you for listening to us on the Sunday morning.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a nice, very, very active chat today. So we will see you maybe at some point during the week. If something, that's the thing right now, if things break, we'll probably do an episode midweek.
Absolutely.
But right now, for the time being, I'm going to assume that we're just going to do, the LFP lives and fill in the gaps there. But we'll keep you posted on social media. Make sure you follow us at Level Flight WPG. We will see you at some point this week, but more likely than not next Sunday. And we hope you have a great Father's Day, a great Sunday, and we will see you, next Sunday.
Yeah.
See ya.
Peace, everybody.